Everybody come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So my favorite late night show host, Jimmy Kimmel, he gave let's listen, shall we? He's going to have a little bit of a meltdown. Here we go.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate.
Well, you know why he started crying? Because he knows his housekeeper is illegal. And he's afraid he's going to have to say. Anyway, here we go.
You know, this is the same guy. He's crying right now, but he did not cry when he wanted to deny hospital beds to people that were sick. Remember that?
That's right.
It was a good night, though, for actors learning how to fake cry. Anyway, here we go.
Plus, you know he's on Epstein's list.
Yes, of course.
And Daddy.
Yeah, yes, very good, yes. So here we go.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate.
What fucking healthcare is he talking about? Most people, I went bankrupt when I got sick. What healthcare are you fucking, anyway, here we go.
For science, for journalism.
For science, he said. For science, you know, the science about masks and mRNA vaccines and transmission and contraction and natural immunity is fake. Oh, well, that kind of fucking science, the bullshit science that you preached on your show every night, that's not called science. That's called big pharma propaganda, you dumb fuck. It's not science. Okay, here we go.
For justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for...
First of all, every night's a bad night for poor people.
Yeah.
Like if Kamala would have won, poor people were like, yay! He's just upset that Scott Baio has more influence than he does. Okay, here we go.
Seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine,
Oh!
for NATO.
The Ukraine.
Our allies in Ukraine. Again, that's another. Everything he's saying, it's we're in opposite day, right? They're not our allies in Ukraine. They're neo-Nazis in Ukraine.
Oh, shit.
And we're using them as a proxy war against fucking Russia for our oil companies. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Did you see they passed 1 million dead today in Ukraine?
It's horrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and that was a war that was provoked by NATO and the United States that, by the way, Putin didn't want. He had a peace agreement before it started. He had a peace agreement immediately after it started, and NATO was the ones who stopped that. And they're using, they don't give a fuck. Do you think Biden and NATO and the neocons care about the people of Ukraine? They don't give a fuck about them because that's why they're using them as cannon fodder, because they think it can weaken Russia and then they can break up Russia and balkanize it and sell it off to BlackRock the same way they're doing the Ukraine right fucking now.
Well, plus there's all those biolabs owned by the Biden family and the Clinton family and Pelosi's family and all that in the Ukraine, where they do a lot of child trafficking down there too.
That's another.
I knew we'd get to the pedo stuff.
Here we are. It's real.
You were wishing I didn't get to.
Yeah, I mean, you study Vietnam. Why we go into Vietnam? They told you it was communism. It was really about the golden triangle of heroin. They wanted to go in there and take the heroin. Same thing with Afghanistan. And now this is all about stealing the Ukraine, because all this food comes out of the Ukraine. Right. Now you control the food.
They sold off half the farmland in Ukraine to BlackRock and State Street already.
Now Bill Gates and BlackRock and all them own
half of America's farmland was sold off to China. Did you know that?
And the other half to build fucking gates. Yeah, I know. This is the world we're living. The democracy is not on the ballot, ladies and gentlemen. Oligarchy and corporatism is on the ballot, and warmongering. That's all that's ever been on the ballot in my entire goddamn lifetime.
No shit.
Yeah, okay. It's tough to... Let's get back to Jimmy Kimmel crying like a bitch.
The truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. And most of all,
Hey, I don't want to say that this is embarrassing, but even prisoners who wanted taxpayer transgender surgeries are saying, pull it together, dude. Anyway, it's actually a terrible, he's crying because it's a terrible night for everybody on Epstein's flight list and Diddy's freak parties.
No shit.
And he said it's a bad night for women. You mean women on The View? What do you mean? I don't even, what even is a woman?
100%.
Who knows? I don't know. It's a mystery.
The people who can't define what a woman are want to regulate misinformation. That's why I knows about that.
Oh, I know what a woman is, you know, and
Are they in the room?
They're in the room. A woman has double X chromosomes, and I remember that because of pasties. Yeah. You know, and they have a vagina, but I don't include boobs because there are plenty of dudes with a bigger rack than mine. I'm looking at you, Chris Christie.
You know what he said?
I know what a woman is. Can I tell my joke?
Yeah.
A woman is me. A woman is somebody whose tits hang down to her knees and who has a prolapse uterus from giving birth to 5 ungrateful little bastards that have never had to work for nothing in their whole fucking lives.
That's a woman.
Roseanne Barr for president.
So when Jimmy Kimmel says it was a bad night for children, does he mean the ones in Hillary's basement? Is that right? Come on, am I right? Come on. Or what is he talking about? One of those batshit mothers bringing their kids to a drag show. I don't know. Anyway, when he says hardworking immigrants, he actually believes that the immigrants being brought here are being brought here in good faith. Yeah. Like they're not being brought here so that corporations could exploit them and pay them sub-fucking livable wages and undercut the wage. Like he doesn't understand that that's actually what's happening.
That's right.
Yeah, they're not. We're not the. Anyway, mother.
Hey, did you see that? Are you going to talk about this? The mayor of New York.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking that.
Go ahead.
He just said, "Oh, we're stopping paying for their food, paying for their housing,
We're done with the whole thing."
Very next
That's going
day.
to cause absolute chaos in New York. It happens right after Donald Trump wins wins the election. Then bang, they're like, okay, we're turning off the faucet to these people.
Well, they brought him here to cause chaos. And
Roseanne and I are
You're right. Chaos always favors the establishment. Don't
Every
forget
time.
that. They want us to be in a situation where we're experiencing chaos, so then we beg the establishment for archaic authoritarian rules that will give us some normalcy and will give up some of our rights.
That's right.
That's exactly what's happening, and I think we all agree on this.
Pressure from above, pressure from below. That's what that's called.
Yes.
When the politicians, you feel like they don't care, and on a street level, you feel you can't leave your house. You just want to beg big government to
Thank God
save
we
you.
still live in California where we get that.
Yeah. Thank God we live in California where you can come out of the closet, but you can't because you live in a tent. All right, here we go. He said it was.
Well, don't forget, you've got to say that those children are being sex trafficked too, to mostly politicians and Democrat donors.
Okay, I'm not going to doubt it. I'm not going to doubt it.
I call them baby blood drinking Democrat donors.
If you can think it, they've got a plan to do it. I've said that for a long time. If you can think it, they've already probably planned it or done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he said that it was a bad night for journalism, what a motherfucker! I can't get it. They just do what they just did to Julian Assange, right?
Yeah.
The administration he was voting for and pulling for, they just tortured Julian Assange and made him plead to a felony so he could get out of prison. And his felony, what did he do? He committed an act of journalism and revealed war crimes of the fucking war machine. That's journalism? No, he's upset that Donald Trump was rude to Jim Acosta, who's a fucking piece of shit. That's what he's upset about.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think the 4 people who still work at BuzzFeed are probably devastated right now.
Why was it a bad night for journalism? Because everything they've said for the last 12 years has been wrong? You mean that? Okay.
No shit.
He said it was a bad night for seniors, but I got to tell you, I saw Joe Biden, and he looked pretty stoked after this election.
Joe Biden might turn out to be the greatest actor we've ever seen,
I
right?
think so.
He's like, oh, hey, I'm good.
I think he won it for Trump.
I think so. When he did the garbage comment, I think that certainly helped. Yeah, I think he did it on purpose.
I do too, because he hates
He
that
fucking
bitch.
hates Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows he hates her.
Yeah.
He didn't want her in the first place. He gave her an office near the furnace in the White House.
Yeah.
And you know who was really a bad night for Jimmy Kimmel? It was a bad night for people who still wear masks. That's what it was a bad night for. It was a bad night for DEI consultants. It was a bad night for them. It was a bad night for independent young feminists whose dads still pay their rent.
Yeah.
It was a bad night for suckers who donated to Kamala, and it was a bad night for gender clowns. That's who it was a bad night for.
It's a bad night for Hamas, too.
Okay, yeah. Hamas came out, and we're going to talk about this later, but Hamas came out immediately, and what they did? They said, hey, we want peace. We want to end this shit.
I know.
And so they know, so that's why I was more leaning towards Trump than Kamala, because I had a feeling that Trump would figure out a way to bring peace.
Of course.
Yeah, so we agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we can disagree on something.
Plus, he actually wants to solve the motherfucking problem.
That's what I'm talking about. Now here is
in our country.
yeah.
He wants to, actually help those people that are dying in the streets.
Yeah, because apparently there's a homeless industrial complex.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
it's
is.
billions and billions of dollars are spent in this state alone.
Yeah, to not solve the problem.
Keep them on the streets.
That's right.
Anytime you have an administration that's there to solve a problem, they're not going to solve the problem because then they don't have a job anymore.
That's right.
You know who's killing it right now? Big tent military industrial complex. The people who make tents, they're crushing it. I don't even know. They got tents with floors now. These people have penthouses now.
Yeah, that would be like if I wanted to solve, if I wanted to make corporate media better. I don't want to fucking that. Where's my incentive to do that? I want to let them fucking wither on the vine, so I get all the. All right. So, everybody, come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.